also we're at a drow dinner, so I was literally downstairs. I was like, oh, get
That's
some
a
water.
good. You make a valid point. I totally should have got some red wine as well, maybe during the next break. But
That's the danger of having a box of wine. Is that whenever you just want a glass of wine, you can just have a glass of wine.
Boxed wine, while usually worse quality, is somehow more tempting.
Yeah, because
I guess because you kind of give less of a shit.
If you have a bottle of wine and you just want like a glass of wine, it's just you. It's like I gotta get the corkscrew and open it up, and then it's like a whole thing. But if you have a box and it's already open, you can just go. Shh, and you're like, cool.
Yeah.
Is this
Absolutely.
a thing in America and I guess Canada and England?
Everywhere else.
Everywhere. Yeah, the cheap solution to drinks. One of the cheap solutions to drinks in high school is what we call the goon sack, which is just the super cheap, like sack of wine.
No.
Oh yeah.
That's not a thing here.
That's the thing.
The cheap
the whole
one.
thing with it is when you're done, you can blow it up and use it as a pillow.
Okay.
So you drink the whole sack.
This is clearly a Commonwealth thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
The cheap option for drinks in the UK are those horrible canned mixed drinks
Oh, those exist, but we
that
don't
are
like them.
super cheap and will get you drunk, but are
Ollie,
like just.
quick question: where in the UK do you live specifically? Are you from London?
I live near Cambridge.
Okay. The only reason I ask is because a guy I work with is from like London proper, and we were just on the topic of accents. I was like, yeah, a friend of mine is also from the UK. And he was like, oh, which part? And I was like, I'm not sure. He was
In
like,
the
oh,
UK,
does he sound like this, or does he sound like that?
it's interesting, right? In my opinion, the Cambridge accent is the default UK accent, so I don't really sound like I'm from anywhere.
And that's what I
in
said
the
to
UK,
him. He literally was like, oh, he's probably from Cambridge or London.
Yeah,
It's
in the
like-
UK, London, depending on where you're from, has an accent. Though is the thing.
Which is what he said. Yeah.
But in the UK, like when you go to uni, they're like, "Oh, you sound posh." I have a posh British accent.
Yeah.
Is what
You
people
don't have the what's it called, the Cockney.
Yeah, which is just interesting. Which is why it's kind of funny to be like an entry-level Brit for most people, because I am the most default accent, I suppose.
I guess. It's interesting though. There's so many different accents like all across the UK. It's crazy. Like every city has a different accent. Almost.
Even where I live compared to Cambridge is different.
Yeah, I bet it is.
You know,
And it's something
just
that like only people who live there too. Like obviously there's big differences, but I'm sure I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But to you, be like, oh, you're actually from Cambridge. Sure, it's kind of cool.
It is. That is very cool.
Very trade Telmont cool.
Excuse me. Don't speak deep speech in my presence.
As we just learned in Jarviskjir, French is equivalent to deep speech. Like mind flayers just roll up to you and they're like, oh, bonjour. You're like, oh god, no.
No, canonically, high elves are French. That's the real Frenchies.
Funniest thing, I once played in a game, like a West Marches style campaign, huge group player base, and there was one character that spoke Giant, and I was DMing, and the guy spoke Dutch, and I know like a little bit of Dutch, so we just determined that Giant was just Dutch. And it was the funniest.
That makes a lot of fucking sense.
And it was great because there'd be like RP, and like no one would actually know what we were saying.
I heard a similar thing with this where they made Elvish be Spanish. Because the people who knew Elvish knew Spanish. I'm like, yeah,
That's
why
awesome.
not? Why not? Unfortunately, the only language I speak is bad French. So
The Quebecois.
yeah, you speak better French than me by far.
That's a Quebecer joke.
Yeah, the problem is we don't speak French. We
speak
speak
Quebecois.
Canadian French, which is Quebecois, which is also like more frowned upon than speaking real French badly.
It's crazy. Quick story before we go back. A friend of mine who lives in Quebec, she is Quebecois. Her boyfriend is from Paris, so he speaks Parisian French.
Yeah.
They both went back to Paris so she could meet his family. And she said hi, introduced herself, whatever. And the mom looked to the son and was like, oh, does she speak French? Like, not trying to be a jerk, like she literally just did not understand what she was saying.
They are very different.
Like,
That's interesting. Because you
like, she was
don't get
so
that with a lot of
excited.
other places like that. You know, you go to Spain, a Spanish-speaking country, and there's differences, but you can speak
Totally.
Spanish. That's curious.
We're weird.
Uh-huh.
Very weird.
Let's pretend to be elves for a bit, shall we?
Oh wait, not those kind of elves.
No.
Tabernacle.
This
Oi.
is just, we're swearing in French now. That's the show.
Well, all of their swear words are just the names of religious things. They're just saying church,
Yeah.
holy chalice.
Yeah.
Alright. Rakath is going to see the chef. In the layout of the building, the chef's chambers is actually really near the guest room. It's kind of this side of the gate. It involves going down a little bit of stairs. And it is a series of tight rooms coated with shelves that are very tall of things. There are things being smoked, there are things being fermented, there are lots of little barrels and casks and things, mostly things being fermenting. There is a male adult elf who is overseeing all of this. He has a coat of many pockets, and there are things in the pockets, and one pocket is kind of actually being held open right now and has a pot of ink in it. And he is dipping a paintbrush in the ink and drawing on a scroll the detailings of what is inside one of these casks and connecting it to the cask. He's kind of hunched over it a little bit. Compared to other elves, he might look a little eccentric, especially considering the quite calm and somewhat dour nature of the other members of House Nor. Ferrero, you know, his hair is more like mine than a regular elf's. He's wearing just this big coat of pockets. He's leaning in very close to something while he's painting. There's like this chamber, which is his, is an organized mess. And Rakath be quite welcome to this kind of thing.
I'll approach but wait patiently at the doorway, and not announce myself at all.
He will eventually turn around and remove a not a monocle. It's one of the magnifying monocles. Don't remember the name. I want to call it a caliper, but I think that's something entirely different.
That is a different thing.
But one of those,
That's
and put it into one of the pockets. Greetings. I did not expect guests. Are you a trader from the wildlands beyond the walls?
No, I have come accompanying Voss Nur.
That means Voss has returned?
Yes. By the way, I love your jacket.
Well, thank you. It's very practical. Very practical indeed. I got it from
Very
a
cool.
traveling trader around 300 years ago.
Fascinating. I should make myself one of those. Oh, we should make one for Rofi. Although
Are
he's
you
not-
a chef?
No, not quite. More of a butcher.
Stay exactly there. And yours like standing in the doorway, which is on the stairs. He goes under the stairs, opens some cupboards and things, and will hold up to you a some kind of jerky. Like, taste this.
Okay. I am going to ask you one question first.
Yes.
No, you know what? Never mind. And I'm just gonna eat the jerky.
It's pretty good. as I said, fermentation seems to be one of these guys' passions, which is quite logical for elves. It appears that there is some sort of fermented marinade with slightly spicy, slightly poppy taste. You can't really tell what the creature jerky is. It's kind of absorbed, but it's nice.
I'll remark the flavor palettes as I'm tasting them to him, and then say,
I quite like that. That's very nice. Now, the question that I was going to ask before I ate it, but now I'm curious anyways. What is this made of?
Well, it's a fermented... there's a particular type of mushroom that grows around here, and we've been fermenting it into a flavored paste, which I applied and marinated to the meat after it was tanned and dried and smoked and all of these things. I'm attempting on layering cooking techniques and seeing what could happen with more time. Because time is the one thing I've got.
Well, that's quite fascinating. I do a little bit of distillery myself.
If it's alcohol you're looking for, I also handle the keeps booze situation.
I am actually looking for a barrel, if you've got one. Preferably a barrel, although if you have a tierce or a hogshead, that's also fine. A rundlet would be too small, though.
Well, I do have barrels, but mostly on the smaller side. I like small but many things. That's sort of my interest.
Understand. I could get away with a rundlet. If you've got a rundlet, that would be okay.
He will rummage and hand you a rundlet.
Excellent. This will do.
For like the one person in chat following along.
I'll need to do a little bit of chopping, but this will do. Thank you. I am working on a particular project. Well, it might interest you. It depends on what this meat is. But I am very curious. What kind of meat is this?
In all honesty, it wasn't labeled.
Interesting. Never done any cooking without knowing what meat I'm using.
That's part of the fun.
I understand. I've done some very large experiments in my time that have involved things far stranger.
There's very little things that happen here, so one of the few joys I can have in life is experimenting with what we eat. Yes. We have some quite interesting results, absolutely. If Ross is back, then that means that at this point, literally from a chute, a little sort of package comes down with a scroll note that he looks at. That's exactly what I was expecting. Time to prepare a feast, Narashiro city style. I don't know if we have the right. And he just
Don't worry too much about that. The only person
completely ignores you for the rest of whatever you're doing.
The only person who will be worried about the style of feast that you're going to eat is Draco. You don't need to worry about that. Thank you very much for the barrel and have a lovely rest of your day.
And I'm gonna leave, knowing full well he's ignoring me. But also, then as I'm leaving, I'm going to try and remember how the jacket is designed, and I'm gonna try and remember that so I can sit best in the movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Next on this party shenanigans, you mentioned that Yuna left the room.
Oh yeah, no.
Would you have wanted to do something in particular, perhaps?
I'm just gonna find people. Just gonna by myself.
Just gonna find people, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you wander around,
I'll use the tech thoughts to find people.
Oh, absolutely. The servants are starting to rush around, trying to organize things, clean things, that sort of thing. So there's servants in what you might call a drow rush. They are doing a lot of things. They're not running anywhere or moving in a hurry, but they are trying to do a lot of things as quickly and as gracefully as possible.
I don't really want to bother them while they're in such a hurry. If I can't find anybody else, I'll just start helping
There
them.
is Rokos. You would find him on the other side, on the sort of porch that overlooks the courtyard, looking towards the hot springs, which is kind of its own building. Hot springs are inside it, you know, it's got a roof and stuff like that. And he is looking towards it somewhat curiously because steam kind of pours out of the decorated vents, which look like dragon heads. It's very pretty. He would...
Yeah, if he's just sitting on the porch, I'll go
He's
to
just
beside him.
standing there in that very Voss-like samurai pose. But similar to Lady Fyra, he does turn his head slightly when you approach him. And when he realizes it's you, he will actually turn around completely and give you a little bow.
Hi.
Greetings, Lady Jarviskjir. Is there anything that I can have a servant do for you?
No, everything's great. I'm just gonna look off to where he was looking at.
Your brother is enjoying the hot springs immediately after entering our home.
Yeah.
There, he does not reply. If you don't say anything else, he doesn't say anything else. He just kind of looks. It's not like you can see inside the hot springs from here, but he's just a bit like that.
I'm perfectly content just not saying anything, just hanging out for a little bit.
Sure,
Awkwardly.
you're gonna feel like he's not necessarily content that you're slightly ruining this for him, but he very politely does not ask you to leave or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Thankfully, if we leave Rofi alone, he just sits there and does it.
Yeah, Rofi, I don't need to ask. Rofi is fine. Eventually, you know, Rakath shows back up with a Rodotha barrel, whatever.
A rundlet.
That's right.
Yeah. You put Rofi in a room and leave. He's like, okay, time to work. Puts out the backpack and just starts working on shit.
This lovely, clean room starting to
it's
get
already
filled with
started.
like coal ash and metal shavings and
It'd be so much worse in a little bit.
One thing I actually
So much worse in a little bit.
One thing I actually would like to do during this time before I do go back, after I'm
Please
done
do.
putting my armor back in the rack and stuff, is just find one of the house servants and ask them if they can bring extra pillows and stuff.
they will do so. Yeah.
Great.
I am going out actually to Scritch's where I left the body of the individual.
Uh-huh.
And
Forgot we had that guy with us.
yeah, no. Well,
William
look,
didn't.
Will's been living for this moment.
No, I just need to do this, and I was gonna do it back in Narashiro, and then we came all the way out fucking here. So here I am having to work in your family's home with a barrel and a cleaver as I chop up this guy and put him into the rundlet.
I mean,
And then I'm gonna
it's
put-
honestly fine. Like, no one's even gonna be upset about it.
No, I know that, but also I'm doing an experiment here to some extent because this guy is infected with shadow to some extent. I'm putting him in the barrel in an attempt to brew him, but also I am going
You're
to
trying to raise his spirits.
I'm going to utilize the last little bag of void crystal that I have that isn't combined with aether, and I'm going to actually put it into the barrel with this guy in order to try and cultivate.
Okay.
Do that. So I'm trying to essentially brew more void glass and seeing what the effects of the shadow infection may have on that. And I'm going to seal the barrel until I get back to Narashiro. I'm just going to put it all in there, mix it all up. Yeah. the
And
goo-
it'll be like
and-
a surprise for later.
Exactly, and we'll see what happens when we get back. But I'm going to have the barrel sit with me and Rofi in the room, so it's going to smell pretty bad.
Rofi will not care. You chose the right person to room with.
Exactly.
Luckily, I said there are 2 rooms, and Draco now has the other one all to himself.
Precisely.
Good. That's probably a good
But
idea.
the walls are pretty thin, so he's still gonna complain.
Well,
Yeah, in the middle of the night, you just tick, 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 tick,
see,
tick.
I'm gonna be very quiet, but
Tick, tick,
I'm
tick.
not the problem in the noise department.
Sure.
No, you're the problem
Yeah.
in the smell department.
I'm the problem in every other department.
What a good insult. You're the problem in the smell department.
Between the
what?
two of you, you're just an assault on all the senses.
I just imagine in the middle of the night, there's just a random, like, mini explosion.
We can worry about what explodes in the night later. Voss. When you've, got changed, when going down the stairs, because everything is fairly open to the outside, which means you can see them doing stuff with barrels and things, and you can also see your brother putting up with Yuna's presence.
Yeah,
on the other
I
side.
look at, like these two kind of scenarios, and just literally look at Rofi and Rakath and just be like, and then I'll just walk towards you. Just like, this is fine. It's just gonna be better if I leave them to their devices.
Voss, the house head of Jarviskjir. I trust he does not travel often.
He travels much within the city. Outside its walls,
How difficult can travel within the city be?
It's very tall.
this is true. It is quite tall,
He
but
just raises one eyebrow at that slightly.
it is easy in many ways. Physically, much easier. It is more difficult in other ways. There are
Just happy
many
he
more.
didn't die on this trip.
Yes, that is something to be rejoiced. But there are many snares that exist within the city outside of the physical. If you catch my meaning. At navigating these things, he is quite adept.
You
However,
keep trying to sell me his praises, which worries me.
I mean, if and presumably when, if he is subject to any sort of martial combat, you will see he does not spend much time outside of the city. I merely present the idea that he holds much value beyond his physical capabilities in combat.
Very well. I suppose it will not be long until a family dinner. So, I shall fetch him from the hot springs.
Excellent. I'm sure you'll be most pleased that he's been bestowed with the honor of being gathered by yourself instead of just a lowly servant.
Absolutely, he says as he walks past you.
Please
It would
excuse
be
any whining.
awkward. That's like an awkward thing to watch, but between you it is not awkward. The way he like nearly bumps into you.
Yeah.
You walk past. It's just a male energy, brotherly frustration
It's
thing, you know.
Everything is a contest.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
shaking hands, exiting a room, having a conversation. Like,
I will call after him, like, please excuse any whining, that's just how he sounds. He doesn't mean half of it.
He will open the door to the hot springs and step within.
I'll just look at you and say, you're right. Often his attempts at conversation can be misconstrued as whining, can't they?
I
So,
think he was coddled.
You know, your mother wasn't
don't-
insane when he was younger.
I
So,
don't want to be impolite, but I agree with that notion. And by the standards in which my brother and I have been raised, many folks in the city could be considered coddled. Just
How did your meeting go?
Good. Well,
Good.
about as well as could be expected.
Hmm.
I don't mean that in a negative way, but Lady Fire is, of course, skeptical, as she should be. She would not be doing her job was she not skeptical. But I'm sure once she has met Chirico, and more importantly, once she has met you, all questions will be put to rest.
Very good.
Were
You
you
say-
and
Like,
Locos
you
having-
say that, bit of a pause, and it just seems that Lady Fyra is kind of behind the lot of you. She just kind of steps out from... Like, you're standing outside where the kind of eating hall would be, and she just kind of slides the door open and steps through, but very quietly.
Yeah. I'll just
Right.
turn, give her a nod, and just say, speak of the shadow. Lady Fire, and I'll just gesture to Yuna, say, this is Univara Deveskos.
I will wave very friendly, and then I will kind of like remember that I'm supposed to be polite, and I will give a bow.
She gives a bow. It's not actually very deep, because you should be bowing to her, not the other way around. But there's a little bit of respect. And she will, again, elvish pause looking at you with those intense eyes, and then just turns to Voss slightly and says, she is rather beautiful. She will bear you very attractive spawn.
At this, I'll just nod and say, attracted or not, with our training, my physical capabilities, and what Univara is capable of, we will presumably sire the next generation of rulers of Narashiro, if I'm being optimistic.
That's so nice of you to say.
It's like the most drow thing to say.
Yeah.
Narashiro would be honored to be ruled by one who masters the blade and masters magic, who understands the world as it is.
Sometimes I feel Univara understands the world not only as it is, but as it will be. She has a very unique way of using magic.
I can see the future.
Can you now? Then tell me, what future do you see?
Doesn't quite work like that. There are multiple different strands of things that can possibly go. But I see things going very well and us having a very nice dinner. Right now.
Can you roll me a persuasion check?
I use my 19.
Hey! She smiles. It is a wider, more friendly smile than the smiles with you, Voss.
Yeah.
If you've ever had, you know, it's like, you know, a mother meeting a girlfriend sort of smile, like, yes. It's hard to tell how genuine it is, but she kind of looks like a normal person for a few moments.
In that moment, Voss realized that his aunt liked Univara more than she liked him.
It's one of those moments a bit.
Yeah. Every
That
girlfriend
means
Yeah, it's like when you call your mom, hey, how's it going? Great. Okay, how's so-and-so doing?
Yeah.
Oh, what are they up to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I
That
actually roll
means-
insight on that?
Please do. That means fate is not yet decided.
Ignore that attack roll. I'm not attacking her. It's
Ka-ching!
enough time. He likes her more than me. Ha!
Yeah, you can absolutely tell. What you tell Voss is less that she likes Yuna. Lady Fire's emotions are complex.
Mhm.
This might be me incorrect, but your parents, imagining you had parents at one point,
At some point, yeah.
would have told you that she was a softer person, but now there's kind of like a layer of something beyond at every time.
Mhm.
So this smile, while it might seem, oh, I like you, it seems more that she likes the idea that Yuna can see the future
Gotcha.
and the way that works. She
Yeah.
seems more interested in that, in what Yuna can do, than Yuna.
Yeah.
But yeah, she will smile and say that fate is not. That means fate is not written, which is curious to say the least.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like that idea, but
I
that's
think
just
it
how
is freeing. Freedom from the rule of gods, I suppose. Well, while the meal is being prepared, I invite you to join with me with a drink.
Sure.
And she turns as if that's not an option involved.
Yeah.
And we'll just walk inside. And pour Yuna and her a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And these are glasses. I mean, I say that like that's important in Narashiro. It really isn't in Narashiro. In other places in Jarviskjir, that's sometimes a bit of a worry. What are you doing? Why are you
Is it poison?
No. It's fine.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Ever
fine.
again.
I just want to know.
And
That's totally fair.
this is one of those low tables where you have to kind of like sit cross-legged or kneel. And she sits at the end and she places the Gnaw blade in a stand that is right there. Unlike where it's usually sideways, it actually stands straight up. And will address Voss, who I imagine is still standing.
Yeah, of course.
And will say, "It seems that you have found a very intelligent young woman. Or perhaps she found and chose you. Which is important. One day, your brother will have to take the Gnaw blade in my stead. And you will have to oversee him." Ah! The Gnaw blade! The magics! Shit! Alright, one moment. I think Tesh's computer just ate rippy bits.
Yeah, I think we lost Tesh.
We did. I'm now Rofi, funnily enough.
Oh, perfect.
And my
The DM
camera
is
up
gone.
there, my camera now shows all the mess of my crafting area, which I tried to hide off frame. But now it's in frame.
And also,
My shame.
The DM is gone. Anarchy reigns.
also part of my stupid blinds.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. What the hell?
And Aaron just looks like that meme with the cat at the table. I suppose technical difficulties break?
Sure.
One moment, please.
I mean, yeah, I just recorded his head. We can take.
Oh, it's not going to be a full break. It's just going to be until our boy gets
Now
back.
I'm the DM.
Cool.
You're
I've
not
done
the DM,
Oh
William.
man, Will has usurped the gods.
I did it.
Will, give us levels quickly while you.
No!
No, I can't do that. I'm not that mean.
Just.
I won't mute this. I'll just hide the cameras.
Background. Oh, I haven't seen that before. That's funny.
Tesh's
Tesh's
power has gone out.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm going to try and set the overlay so that we can keep going.
Yeah.
One
Cool.
moment.
That seems just
I'm
awesome.
gonna
We're
cut
not
these.
muted. You guys just chat shit to the audience for a few moments if you
Oh,
want.
hi, chat.
Yeah. While I fix this problem. Oh,
Alright,
was
well,
Yoshi the DM for a short time?
Yoshi was the DM for.
Yoshi's
for
a little drunk, unfortunately. Yoshi just can't stay up.
Oh, you know.
Which is a problem that affects many young men and is nothing to be ashamed about to Velociraptors.
And yes, that was an oh hi mark that I did for oh hi chat.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh hi chat.
That's so funny.
That's so funny. It's been a long time since I've seen that, to be honest.
No, I'm muted. I fucking hate the room. I don't get it. I don't get those moves are so bad. That
It is not actually
It's not.
so bad it's good. It's just bad, but interesting.
It's
I
so
find it
bad.
interesting. I don't find it so bad it's good. I don't really believe in so bad it's good. I just genuinely enjoy a lot of things that people think are bad. The room isn't one of them.
I'm gonna go to the washroom too. May as well. Be right back.
Oh, everyone yeeting out of here. Just because one boy lost power. You think you can leave? That's not how this works.
Apparently, I'm not a part of everyone. Wow.
You're the
They're just
sensible one,
feelings.
Erin, and I always stand by that.
Look, I had to pee so bad, and I was like, I'm taking this chance while it happens.
It's a fair pee of having to meet, introduce your parents to your new girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
A very real experience.
I mean, we just jumped from friends to fiance, so we skipped the whole dating process.
Absolutely.
Dating's a
Dating.
modern construct anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, dating.
In
is
Drow
so
Society, you
21st
date
century.
after you're married. You can date, you know.
Wow, this is great. It looks like I just have a really unfortunate head. That was crack ass.
Chat can't see the unfortunate head.
Oh, that's right. I
you
just
look
put
like
my hoodie. I just put my toque over
You look like
my
a fucking Jaffa cake.
Head. I look like a brain boy.
Big brain time.
Supreme brain boy.
Well, William's a bit
I-
awkwardly close up, but that's fine.
You guys ever watch Band of Brothers? What a great show.
Alright, I
I
never
just
placed
not.
Is
Tesh.
that Ollie?
Well, chat can decide how they like
Okay.
that or not. That's up to them. Free country, but it's not. We're in Narashiro, where nothing is free.
Except the beatings.
Except pain, I was gonna say that.
The beatings.
Although, in some
one
circles, you would pay for someone to beat you. So,
That's true.
we were talking about fetish clubs earlier.
We don't
So-
associate with those degenerates.
They're less degenerate than anyone else in Drow Society.
I disagree, but that's because I'm a
Being
drow.
a dominatrix is a very responsible job.
Hey, except
I've
for
done
that
it!
one lady-
Your mother did it!
Except for that one lady who very
Your
much
grandmother
got
did it.
arrested for drug smuggling as well.
Mom, I want to be
Yeah,
a
you
lawyer.
can't do both.
Yeah,
So
that's
you.
the thing. You can't overreach as a dominatrix.
You
need
can't
to-
be a doctor and a dominatrix at the same time.
Yes,
Says you.
not in
That's-
Narashiro.
That's pretty
It's a
much what a
full-time
psychiatrist is, in my opinion, anyway. So,
I mean, yeah.
Oh,
So-
yeah, you mean a feelings prostitute? Someone you just pay money to sit and listen to you talk about your feelings for an hour?
Don't think how that works. Oh.
I'm so.
And this is why it's a black market trade.
I'd buy that for $1.
Anyways, one thing I was gonna say, when she makes that comment about someday, like your brother will have to take the sword or whatever, you'll see Voss almost like visit the Nor equivalent of a smirk, like yeah, right, like he's only 40 years older than me.
Fair enough. Either she doesn't notice or, more likely, ignores that motion.
Which is totally fair. Anyways,
Uh,
what were we saying? Right, she was.
That
saying-
was pretty much it. She basically said, yeah, this girl has a head on her shoulders. That's good, because one day your brother's going to be in charge. And you're going to have to help. That's pretty much the comment. She will say, in a very mother-in-law way, but it would be nice to have more women around, of note.
We have the same problem in my household.
Your house is currently headed by a man, which is...
It's true. But Jamaica's very good at it.
As I am being increasingly told. I hope...
And it's a lot of work.
Oh. The statecraft, the interspecies relations, diplomacy. I am sure it takes skill and worth, etc., etc. I'll measure him not as a member of this house, but as who he is. The worst you can be is only being your station. Unless you are, of course, a samurai so dedicated to the cause.
Hated boss.
I'll beam up at Voss like that. Like, oh, yeah, that's you.
Yeah. At this point, servants will start bringing in plates of food. Little shallow plates of little thingamadigs and doodads and so forth. Little bell will be rung and one of the servants will go and get Rakath and Rofi to bring them over. And Rokos will come in with Jureko. Jureko with wet hair. Who will then, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but he will have his, introductions to Lady Farah, and he has a spiel of how honored he is to meet you. I heard a lot about you, and only good things, and the terror you put into your enemies, and etc., etc., etc. Lady Farah remains, motionless, with a blank, slight smile the entire time. And then when he's done, just say, I am glad to meet you. And that is all. It's like a 10-minute speech from Jureko and just that in response.
I'm gonna try so hard not to laugh.
What did our chef pal cook up for us?
So it's a mixture of things. The main event is a fairly common food, not in Narashiro, but in other places. Like, he would have maybe had this a couple times in Paradise, is cave lice. That sounds super gross, but they're big. They're big, meaty creatures. And they can be farmed pretty easily. And it's served with this fermented fungal paste, which you only need a little bit of. It's kind of, like a sort of spicy wasabi-ish kind of thing. That's the main event, but there's little bits of other things, little brothy sauces with fungal. You're in the Underdark. There's fungal everything. Get ready to like mushrooms.
How many of these lice does Rokos take on his plate?
You take each one is cut into 4, and he will take 2.
They're lice steaks.
Big chunks.
I take
lice
3.
steaks, yeah.
They're lice steaks.
I take 3.
Rokos looks at you when you do, straight up puts his fork down and just folds his hands together and looks at you when you do that. And saying, if you are to be married and to be a father, perhaps you should stop acting like a little boy.
I just skewer the third piece and put it off and just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. It is rude of me to take so much. I have a warrior's appetite, you see. Not something I would expect someone still just training in the mountains.
A true warrior is fueled by their spirit in battle.
And an experienced warrior knows that when you run out of fuel, you die."
I hear that, by the way.
Yeah!
Yeah.
You're at this table. Yeah.
Good, I'm just listening, but I just wanted to know that I heard that.
Jureko is like,
Rakath is very much the same at this point.
Jericho actually shares a look with Rakath at this point, and you have never had so much in common.
After like a super uncomfortable amount of time, I'll just kind of like crack a smile at him. It's all in good fun, but you're still a bitch, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Lady Farah will actually turn to Yuna and will say that these two have been growing up at odds with each other for their whole lives. Every single thing they do is against each other.
Oh, I understand. I have a brother.
A brother is a completely different creature. I mean, she does kind of glance to Draco, who is trying to figure out what he would be doing at this table that sets him out as a fancy city boy, but I can't quite work it out. He's doing something.
He's doing something.
He's doing something.
You know what? How many knives and forks are at the table?
Not
for him.
Enough.
Yeah, he's looking for the extra fork.
He's taking an extra fork from his bag.
There you go.
I like the idea that
just to go full nerd, it's an extendable little fork.
Oh, so here's what we can do. In Narashiro, they use forks, and here they exclusively use chopsticks.
That would
And
make
Draco
sense.
is not that good at using
That would
chopsticks.
absolutely make sense as well. And he gives up and he takes his fork out of his bag, and will say, Lady Farah will say, clearly after seeing this, it is curious. We usurper elves who live out here are so much a different breed. Voss and Rokos are some of the strongest elves I've ever seen. And yet, within the city, you are graceful, delicate, like paper dolls. It's quite fitting for a house of diplomacy and democracy.
I'm gonna say that I left Abby with Rofi. The doll comment. I'm thankful I did that.
Keep eating this delightful meal.
Now this Fomorian is of your retainers, Lady Deveskos?
Oh, yeah, Ragath is a wonderful retainer. And friend. He's a really good friend.
I understand. Like I said, people within the city are a different breed. This friendship you hold together, I'm sure, is a strong bond that travels through this creature's thick outward appearance. I have been told of your skill and worth, Sir Rakath.
He bows slightly and says,
Glad to hear that, but I'm only doing what I am asked. Nothing more.
And Draco says, he's actually a very talented torturer. You see, we have quite a lot of use of such a thing. Getting people to talk, getting people not to talk, all these sorts of things. And he's very invaluable in his field, and we're very lucky to have him. I must say, when first dealing with this lumpy, disgusting, foul creature, I was filled with quite a lot of
Disgust.
disgust. But while I am still filled with disgust, I also have some respect for his skill. He's very fast and dexterous for a creature that looks like it would be better to roll. And he looks at Lady Farah like, and she doesn't really respond. Just
Rakath looks
delicately.
a little bit put off because he's never once been complimented by Draco in his entire service.
Yes, and we also have one of Univara's friends. She's very good at finding friends. It's quite a talent of my very talented sister. Is a young boy who is quite the inventor. Can make machines of metal. Yes. I think he's a young boy.
He knows he's a fey creature.
He has very good false paperwork. It's one of his skills.
Lady Fira takes a very long look at Jericho. For like the next 5-10 minutes, she doesn't eat anything, and she just watches him.
While doing that, I'm going to be watching her, partially on the defensive.
You can give me an insight roll, Mr. Lumpus.
I'm gonna enjoy my food.
Mr.
Yeah.
Lumpus rolls.
I'm just gonna at some point look over to Univar and just be like, isn't this great?
Ah!
Wonderful.
Oh, bad!
Amazing.
You roll with that, William. I'm not even gonna tell ya. You have fun.
Okay. I'm gonna kick Yuna under the table and kind of like motion to her that Lady Fair is watching Draco, and then look like very, very concerned.
Draco at this point is talking to Rocco. So they're actually sitting side by side. Is it called? I mean, well, what was growing up here like? You know, that's.
Yuna, you see Rakath looking genuinely fearful for Draco in this moment.
I'm just gonna like do like a calming gesture with my hand towards you. I know it's happening. I'm choosing to ignore it.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna eat my food.
Well, you look rather quite strong, honestly. I'm a master of magic myself. On the way here, I had to slay a horrible, horrendous beast. Save the lives of Univara, and they're very competent in combat, but in this situation, they needed a little bit of help from me.
Yes, we were at the inn that you own.
Rocco's looks to you and is like, we do not own an inn. Lady for Shay says, like, we do.
I'm gonna pull out the guest book and
Yes, it is very haunted. It was quite lovely.
Haunted?
Yes, we met a few ghosts.
Some shadows.
There was an unfortunate shadow. You know.
We were attacked by a pack of shadows.
When you say this, she puts one hand on the resting blade and flicks through the book with the other.
After fighting them off, we found ourselves an opening into a small pocket of what appeared to be a shadow, some kind of shadowy world. Nothing that made architectural sense within the building itself. Where there was a creature guarding a large black aether crystal. We slew said creature.
I did sense an item of intense magical power within your items.
It's really lovely. Unfortunately, we're contractually obligated to give it to the Daimao, but I would love to study it a little bit further, and Voss mentioned that this would be the place to find information about it.
I would be at your service to assist in the research of this item.
Oh, really? That's wonderful, thank you.
Our order
I
has
suggested
great and intimate knowledge of shadow.
which is exactly why I suggested we come here before bringing it to the Daimao.
Yeah, Jericho, upon hearing that, says, well, I'm glad I didn't bring Kato. Just said that bit out loud, and Rocco's like, what do you mean? I was like, just a friend of another friend of Univara. It doesn't matter.
Raka gives Draco a thumbs up, like, good choice.
This is a great time to take another little break. You know, we took like a mini break. when we got rid of Tesh, but I replaced him, so it's fine. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
So much worse, though.
What's
Not
wrong
nearly as I
with peak attractiveness Dean?
It's no Tash.
It's no Tesh.
It's no Tesh. You're
Tesh is the
right.
best.
I'll be back.
Is anyone, to be honest?
We'll be
No,
back in a
only
few Uno Mementos.
In a few 1 minutes.